What is going on, you guys? Welcome back to the channel. We are in my paint supplies corner of the garage today because we're going to be talking paint setups and beginner paint setups and the few items that you can get to go ahead and get started doing some DIY paint projects on your own at the house. So we're going to jump in, get started, take a look at some tools and stuff, and I'm going to run through and give my recommendations. So this will be what you absolutely need to get started, and then I'll probably do another video on everything I use to paint a car. So some of the extra items you can get once you start doing a bit more and you want to continue and just level up your kit a bit. So let's go ahead and take a look at some of this stuff. First thing you're gonna need is an air compressor. Can't really get around this one. Paint guns run off of compressed air. Plus a lot of the other tools you're gonna want for bodywork are gonna be air tools. So first piece of equipment you're definitely gonna need is an air compressor. And here I would say buy the absolute biggest one that you can possibly afford. Just about everything you do when painting or doing bodywork is kind of a continuous thing. So spraying, you're spraying for a good period of time. Sanding, you're sanding for a long period of time. So this consumes a lot of air. So you need a lot of CFM and a lot of air in reserve in the tank. But this is what I have at the house right now. It's 30 gallons and it is just barely enough. When I'm sanding or spraying, this thing runs almost continuously. So I would say this would be the bare minimum. An ideal setup would be a 60-gallon tank. But yeah, if you're just getting started, get something like this. It won't be ideal, but it will work. It'll get you through. It will just run a lot. So here's a look at some of the tools I would consider essential and probably what you're going to want to have to get started. Now, also in addition to this, there's going to be a lot of materials that get consumed. That's just the nature of bodywork and painting. So obviously you're going to need sandpaper and primer and paint and stuff like that. But as far as the tools go, I would say you're 100% going to want a mask like this. These 3M ones are good. They're disposable. So you're only going to want to use these for a couple weeks if you paint a lot. If you don't paint a lot, you can probably get away with a couple of months. But definitely switch these out. Don't use the same one for a long time. They will lose their effectiveness over time. And when you're not using it, you should definitely close it up in a storage bag. These bags come with the masks when you buy them. These are about 20, 30 bucks. I think you can get these at Home Depot or an automotive paint supply store. So when it's not in use, seal it up in that bag and put it away so these filters don't absorb anything else in the air. Next, obviously, you're gonna need a paint gun. And this gun right here was the first paint gun I ever got, and I used it for pretty much everything: sealer, paint, and clear coat. Now this is not ideal, but when you're first starting out, you can do everything with one gun. A good option on places to get a gun if you're just starting out, you can go on eBay and look for a used gun, and you can usually get some pretty good deals on good paint guns. And if you don't want to do that, you just want to spend the least amount possible, you can go to Harbor Freight and get one of their spray guns. I've personally never used one, but if you're just starting out, I'm sure it will be more than enough. I know a few people that have used them, and you'll definitely be able to learn on it. Next thing you'll want to get is just a basic air blow gun like this. You'll use this for countless things while painting and doing bodywork. These are pretty cheap, so just go ahead and get you an air blow gun. Obviously, you're going to need tape for a lot of paint projects. Now, you can use whatever you like, but I highly recommend masking tape that is made for automotive use. The blue home painter's tape is just that. It's made for houses, not cars, and it is quite a bit different. It's a lot thinner. It doesn't stick nearly as well, so I would highly recommend using a specific automotive masking tape. I'm a big fan of the 3M yellow as well as the green. The green is quite a bit more expensive, but it is a really nice tape. I think the yellow is a good middle ground. Something that's gonna make your life a whole lot easier is gonna be a DA sander. This is your standard 6-inch dual action sander. Something like this, when you're just getting started out, you can definitely use a Harbor Freight sander. I've used one quite a bit actually, and they're not too bad. Just something to look out for when you're buying one of these is the orbit pattern. This one right here is a 3/16 orbit, and that is my favorite for doing bodywork. It's a much bigger orbit and it will sand a lot faster. If you're doing some fine like finishing work, like wet sanding before you polish on fresh paint, you can go with a 3/32. It'll be a lot finer and it won't cut nearly as fast. Now this here is optional, but I've figured I'd include it just in case. This is a 3-inch dual action sander. This is really nice for getting into tight spots where this one won't fit. Something else that's worth noting if you're painting at home is to pick up one of these inline disposable filters for your paint gun. This is going to catch any moisture or dirt or anything that's coming out of your air lines from your air compressor. These are super cheap and they are pretty effective at catching moisture and things coming through your air lines. Now on a professional setup, there would be a lot bigger and multiple filters inline coming straight out of the air lines through the compressor, and you wouldn't need anything like this on your gun. But when you're at home and you don't have that, you just got your airline coming straight out of the compressor, you can use one of these and it will work just fine. So this right here is another kind of optional, but kind of not in my eyes. These are 3M PPS cups. They are disposable paint cups and liners. So how it works is you've got this cup here. This is reusable. You've got a disposable liner that you would drop in here. And then you have the disposable lid with a built-in filter. And this is gonna save you a ton of time and a ton of hassle cleaning. If you buy that gun from Harbor Freight, and honestly, a lot of guns, they will come with a metal cup, and that metal cup you're gonna have to clean out very thoroughly in between each product you use. So if you are just starting out and you have the one gun and that one metal cup, say you're putting your sealer on, once you finish that, you're gonna have to come in here, clean your cup out as well as your gun, and then you put your paint. You spray your 2-3 coats of paint. Same thing, you have to come back, clean all that out, and then you do your clear, and then you'd have to clean all that out again. With these, obviously, once you're done with this, you take this. If there's any excess paint, you can dump that out into your disposal container, and then you just toss that. And then all you have to do is clean out your gun, which will take a fraction of the time to clean that out versus a big cup of paint. Then you throw a new liner in here, you get a new lid, and you're off and painting again. So I highly, highly recommend the 3M PPS system like this. Even when I was just starting out, I never even bought the metal cup for this gun. I went straight to these, and I've always been using these. Way more convenient, less wasteful, a lot cleaner, and easier. Now, these are not cheap. This box has 50 liners and 50 lids, and this runs over $100, but I still think it is definitely worth it just for the convenience and the time that it saves you. Now, something to note, if you do go with this PPS system, you're gonna need to purchase one of these adapters that threads into the top of whatever paint gun you have. They make a ton of different adapters for all different brands of gun. You can go on 3M's website and look that up to see what adapter you need. So keep that in mind if you do want to go with the PPS cup route. And this is just necessary for the way it attaches and locks into these lids. Now, speaking of cleaning your gun out, regardless of what cup system you go with, this is something you're gonna have to do. So you're gonna need some sort of container to hold the waste paint and the waste cleaner that goes through your gun. And this can be a bit tough when you're starting out, but I would recommend trying to get yourself a metal barrel like this. A lot of times automotive shops will have empty barrels sitting behind the shop, and maybe you can ask them if you can take one of them off their hands. But this is definitely the best way to do it. And once this gets full, you need to call a company that will come out and pick this up and dispose of it properly and safely. But this is what I use. I've got lacquer thinner in this bottle here, and in between products, I will just take this and I'll run this through the top of my gun until it starts coming out clear and all the old paint is out of there. And then it's clean and ready to go for the next coat. Now, lastly, you're gonna need something to hold the parts while you're painting them, and that's where these stands come into play. You can pick these up for about $25 on Amazon if you just search for an auto body workbench. I've got a ton of these, they come in handy. You can paint just about any part you want to on these, bumpers, doors, fenders. So these are super useful, and I would definitely recommend picking these up before you get started with your painting projects. So that just about does it for this intro video today on the things you're gonna need to get started doing some of your own paint work. Now, don't forget you're also gonna need things like sandpaper and tape and the materials like that. But these few things will get you started. The air compressor, you're definitely gonna need stands, a paint gun, and a way to clean your gun out, as well as some personal protective equipment like the mask that is 100% necessary. Work safe out there for sure. You don't wanna mess around with this stuff. But that is gonna do it for me today on this one. Hopefully this helped you out in getting started with some of your own painting projects. If you have any questions about what I talked about today, make sure to leave a comment below. I'd be happy to help you out. As always, thank you for watching, have an awesome week, and we'll see you in the next one.